Hello again. Reading the comments on this channel, people might notice that the phrase great replacement tends to crop up most days and is used in such a way that there seems to be an assumption that it will be understood by readers and that there is no need to explain it, almost as though the two words themselves are a slogan or rallying cry which encapsulate a particular ideology or viewpoint. For those who don't know what it is all about, I thought I would give a potted history because although the expression itself dates only from about 10 years ago, it actually has its roots in two works of popular fiction published half a century ago. In 1972, this book was published in Britain by Christopher Priest, who went on to become quite a well-known science fiction writer. Fugue for a Darkening Ireland tells the story of how a lot of boats began to arrive in Britain carrying loads and loads of African refugees who, once they landed, formed ghettos and then took over whole stretches of British cities until they were unrecognisable to those born in this country. The result in the book was a civil war. At the time it was published, this all seemed like an extravagant fantasy. There are accounts of small boats arriving in Britain and disgorging lots and lots of black refugees and asylum seekers. Perhaps it was a little more prescient than Christopher Priest realised it would be. The following year, 1973, a novel was published in France called Camp of the Saints. It tells a similar story, only this time it is Europe as a whole which is invaded and occupied by shiploads of refugees from Africa and South Asia, bringing about the collapse of European civilization. These two novels provided the core idea for the theory of the Great Replacement. In 2011, a French homosexual called Camus coined the phrase Great Replacement to describe what he saw as the invasion of Europe by Africans and Muslims from the Middle East and South Asia, who, because of their higher birth rate than that of white Europeans, of course, would eventually form the majority population and so cause the white civilization of the continent to decline and fall. Up to this point, the theory is fairly neutral in that it is merely a prediction of what might happen if current trends continued. Many people, I'm one of them, feel uneasy about the same things which caused Camus to speak out. Since he came up, though, with the idea of the Great Replacement, it has been seized upon and turned into an anti-Semitic conspiracy theory, which is, alas, where I must part company with those who espouse the idea. Describing the disastrous concatenation of idiotic decisions and so on, which led to the present crisis, is one interesting line of inquiry, and I've talked about this at some length in previous videos. The Great Replacement, though, as it is presently understood by most people, is actually a plan orchestrated by Jews who seem to have stepped straight out of the pages of the protocols of the Elders of Zion, deliberately setting out to destroy Europe by immigration and miscegenation or race mixing. In short, it segued seamlessly into the idea of white genocide, which is summed up by the so-called 14 words, the white supremacist slogan: we must secure the existence of our people and a future for white children. Because dislike and mistrust of Jews is fairly common among American white supremacists, it was perhaps inevitable that the Great Replacement would come to feature in conspiracy theories of this kind. This is the sort of thing which bedevils all genuine attempts to tackle the continuing crisis of unchecked immigration. It is in itself a sensible enough plan, that is to say, to look at what's happening and try and work against it, And there are many good reasons why we should end large-scale immigration, not only to Britain but also to the rest of Europe. People will listen to arguments about this subject, which is of course why this country voted to leave the European Union. Immigration was a major topic then, a major factor in the result of the referendum. The problem is that rather than focus simply on the disadvantages of immigration and the problems which immigration can cause, something which I've done frequently over the last year or two, quite a few of the most enthusiastic opponents of immigration have an unfortunate habit of raving on about the Jews and so on. And ordinary people who share the concerns about immigration then find their eyes glazing over and they switch off and walk away. This is counterproductive. Regardless of whether the idea is true or false, once you start going on to the average person, even one who is dead against further immigration, about the Jews being behind this or that and controlling the media and so on, they're going to regard you as a swivel-eyed loony. Unfair perhaps, but it does happen to be the case. The Great Replacement is therefore a way of alienating potential supporters of an anti-immigration movement and ensuring that you only get those who are a bit cracked in the first place to join you. It may well be that this obsession with Jews, which has been a recurring theme in far-right anti-immigration movements in Britain, at least since the late 1940s, is the very thing which prevents them from turning into mass movements and attracting ordinary people. This is certainly worth thinking about.